Bonjour, good morning, ni hao.
Ni hao.
It's a great pleasure for me to be here and to moderate this session. David, how a company can use Messenger?
So we opened the Messenger platform about 2.5 months ago, and we already have 11,000 bots or chat bots that have been built inside of Messenger. So last week in Cannes, we announced a partnership with American Express, where every time you use your card to pay for something, you get a notification in Messenger that shows you how much you've paid, the merchant, but also augments that information. So let's say you buy a plane ticket, you will get the map of the airport and recommendations of restaurants for your destination automatically. So this is one example. KLM, the airline, is basically now delivering boarding passes and flight updates and provides customer service in Messenger. For the NBA final in the US, we had an NBA bot that was delivering the highlights of the games after every big games were done, and I could go on and on. So there are lots of experiences that would have taken place inside of an app or on the mobile web that are now taking place inside of Messenger with much less friction and identity that is always present. So you don't need to log in to experiences and identify yourself because it's on the Facebook platform and you have persistent identity at all times.
That's why when you listen to David and you look at what you already do, don't you believe that there are already some of your apps which are a little bit, or services which are a little bit like Messenger?
I think the brilliance or the beauties of internet is such a big open platform where there's virtually no secrets in the recipes in that sense. But having said that, what makes companies successful for the longer run is actually the passions of the founding team, and as well as the ability to really galvanize a top management partners, not just team partners surrounding the founding team with a strong philosophy, with a strong passion to really make a difference in the world. So yes, there would be some similarities here and there, but then a lot of time the consumers are actually smarter than we thought. They'll be able to see through what are the small thingies that really fits them well, which products or apps service provider in today's world actually care for them more than the other so-called providers. So I think consumers are smart in the world of internet mobility in that sense.
We will come back to mobility, but I would like, David, to see if I want to use it internally as one of my communication tool within the company. Do you believe I can do it?
Yes, we actually have a product that's called Facebook at Work. That's basically a complete version of Facebook, but for the work environment. And the reason we built that product is because we use it a lot at Facebook every day, whether it's Facebook groups or posts, or even a version of Messenger that's meant for internal enterprise usage. And we've been very successful with it lately. And so if you want to make that happen, we can definitely do that.
Okay, we will discuss this and we will try.
Maurice, we also have WeChat and we have QQ for Office that are equally very helpful. You could like to consider that.
Good. So we say competition is working. That's good. SY,
Yes.
can we say a few words about the new trends on mobile communication for Tencent?
Well, the numbers does tell the stories. If you were to take that idea back into the world of internet, the world of internet today, with mobility coming through, with connectivity paving the way as the next biggest things built on mobility, every single audience in the world, in China in that matter, are given the liberty to exercise their wisdom with regards to consumer behavior. So mobile in the world, a market like China, has that very strong significance. A few trends that we saw recently, it all comes back to the keywords that surround the word smart, smart cities, smart consumers, and smart content. Meaning, China today will probably be the most well-connected cities in the world. I'm not sure whether our esteemed audience here has followed. Over the past 12 to 18 months, there are more cities and provincials in China are being connected under the national policies of Internet Plus. And in fact, corporations such as Baidu, Tencent, and Alibaba are helping, playing a very important role in connecting the last miles of the society. So when everything is connected, you think about mobility, then brings up connectivity. And in that sense, then demand would become infinity. So demand would happen the way that you wanted it. Supply on our side would therefore have to meet up to the new pent consumer behaviors in the society. So smart cities, smart consumers, and then we, Facebook and ourselves, we have to worry about smart content that therefore engine the so-called the resources that's happening right now in the society. Yeah.
Maybe because I don't speak Chinese, I have the feeling always when I'm looking at Tencent, at Baidu, I have always the feeling that you are ahead of the Western world.
No,
particularly when it comes, for example, when I'm speaking about Tencent, there is a possibility of social and commerce together,
well,
which is a step ahead of what we are seeing in the Western world.
Well, David,
I know that
up.
you are.
Stand up, help me. See, this guy is taller than me. How can we be ahead in that sense, right? I think numbers
yes, because you have
show
seen
the
on
story.
that size.
That's right.
Maybe if you had seen on the other side.
Well, let me maybe put it in a French context. Well, I'm a great fan of French literatures. I've watched Les Miserables probably more than 10 times with my family around the world. Victor Hugo, one of the key words that my friend Jeff shared with me was that there is nothing more powerful than an idea. There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has arrived. So I think this fits very well in the context of evolutions of China's internet society. And our industry only have about 20 years of lifespan compared to what the world, the major matured various types of industries from industrial revolutions in the West and until where we are seeing where the world are today. So we only have about 20 years. So in other words, that big idea happened at the right time, where the market was opening up, where a lot of foreign investment was coming in, where a huge resources of consumers are beginning to realize that their hard-earned capital, their hard-earned money could be utilized in improving their lifestyles. And then national policy came in, infrastructures of broadbands supported by the government, which is actually playing a huge resource. I'm holding a Chinese-made mobile phone here, Huawei, and such smartphones are available to 90% of the mobile internet server in China. So that helps a lot in actually kind of building an aggregated society where social ideation and social economy is taking a new life by itself.
So, going back to you, David, if we look at the current messenger program, how much are you expecting from the developers around the world in order to make it an experience that everyone would like? And how much are you expecting from the advertising agency to contribute to this experience?
Well, a lot, actually. A lot depends on having a healthy ecosystem of partners, a healthy ecosystem of developers, of creative people who can come up with the new interactions when a new platform comes of age. I always like to make the comparison of when you think about the early days of the web or the early days of the apps, there was a lot of opportunities for developers to build new businesses, new experiences, for companies to reinvent themselves, and also for creative companies and advertising agencies to come up with new concepts that drove new customer acquisitions, re-engagement, and a lot more. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. This is definitely not this is not a play that is going to be subtracting value from the ecosystem. It creates value for everyone. And I think that like from developers, what we're expecting to see is a great deal of innovation, and we've seen it already. It's like we've seen new experiences that couldn't exist in other formats come to Messenger. Like, you know, when I think about the airline example or the American Express example, or like even new things, like there's a company, a startup, that's called Motiface that launched that bot the other day where women can actually just send a quick photo from the embedded cam of Messenger and it virtually applies all kinds of different makeup on their faces so they can actually pick the right makeup for them. So those are...
Have you seen the experience at the L'Oreal stand?
Yeah, no, L'Oreal is actually also a partner and they're building a bunch of experiences like this for Messenger, which is very relevant to all of their product lines and all of their brands. And this is like the nice thing about those experiences is that they add value to the people using them, and at the same time, it shows them new products that they're potentially interested in buying. And that's a combination of utility and advertising, which I think is really, really interesting.
Which, by the way, is a link with the previous meeting regarding the end of our marketing as we know it, because we have to change the way we are communicating and dealing with the consumer. Going back to China, I will certainly cover a lot of the way the Chinese are innovating with Robin, but I would like to come back to you, SY. Explain to me what is driving innovation in China, because I have the feeling that after having been a little bit, and sorry for the word, a copycat, and in many aspects, it was in industry, in transport, in every single thing, Chinese have started to copy the Western world, and you are now really not only catching up, but leapfrogging up. And what is driving innovation? What is the ecosystem which allows the Chinese to innovate so much?
Well, that is actually the question that we are being asked of in most of the occasions. If we were to look at the space of innovations, there are some global scholars that are really authoritative in that sense. It makes me think of Clayton Christensen that talks about innovations and dilemma. And of course, the gentleman that drove that innovation eventually was to actually serve the needs of a competitive advantage. And we think about Michael Porter, our professor back in Harvard Business School. Mr. Porter talked about there ought to be a certain types of corridors that exist within a ecosystem before innovation could flourish, which is why we see back in the valley, we are looking at Mr. President of France yesterday sharing with us passionately about his dream of turning France into a French tech nation, a startup nation. So all those things could be in place, but one of the key factors that often being missed out is actually ideas doesn't achieve success by itself. It's always the people. So one of the first things that we saw when we look at the past 20 years, yes, they are beginning to have a few Mark Zuckerberg types of the world. We are very proud that we have Robin with us, Robin from Baidu. We are very proud that we have Pony Ma with us. And of course, the world knows about Jack Ma, more than Jackie Chan, I guess. And what it basically means is that if we were to use what do you call a time machine traveling back 10, 15 years ago, before this gentleman became such a public figure, they were coding days and night. They have such huge passion to try to make a difference. They all started with a dream that the world will one day be different with their contribution. And this is what is important in innovation. And in China, well, going back to Victor Hugo again, is just the right place at right time. And then with a lot of Chinese luck and Chinese hard work and Chinese passion, I think that's how it started. Having said that, innovation has to serve a purpose. The types of innovation that impact the most are those that actually create a certain utility, a certain values in someone's life. WeChat would be one example. Facebook would certainly be another. I'm a great fan of Facebook, not because David is sitting next to me, but Facebook allowed me to utilize my social circle the way that I wanted it to be. And a lot of us actually have that eagerness to share. Right, and then I wish if Mark was here today, he would have probably more things to share. And so if Pony was here today, he would actually show you that types of passion that you will never see, despite the fact that they're getting older and older. What do you think, Mark?
Interesting
Yes,
thing
you
to
work
me
at
with
Facebook.
China right now is actually not related to messaging, but it's a point that I really want to make because it's striking to me in terms of the innovation that's now happening in China and the creativity. I mean, you talked about and I'm a great admirer of China and all of the progress that you that you've put forward for the world. And if you look at consumer electronics, the really fascinating thing, I think, is to see that people always believed that China was manufacturing, but actually not creating. And now the world has changed. When you look at drones, first world leader in drones, DJI, Chinese company, Xiaomi is building a whole range of new products and inventing and creating. And so you can clearly see that even the China of now is not the China of 5 years ago. And it's really remarkable to see the creativity that's now happening in the country, right?
Thank you.
So we will make the life a little bit less comfortable. Tell me about the competition, a word that you probably don't understand in Chinese, because I guess that you are the only one and there is no competition in China.
Oh, actually, it's actually not quite true. Companies such as Facebook, companies such as Baidu, and ourselves, we don't arrive at where we are today if we don't see that competitions are everywhere. The biggest competition is actually fear. Every single day, those dream makers of our company, we have a group of people we call the dream makers. When we wake up, we worry more about are we losing the love mark? Are we losing the love from our consumer? Because you might think that you don't have a competition. And in fact, in today's world, someone from here somewhere would disrupt the Facebook and the Tencent of the world because they are startup. And these keywords that, Maurice, that you mentioned yesterday when you met with President, you talk about unicorns. Statistics shows that the Fortune 500 companies used to take a space of 20 years for them to achieve the valuations of $1 billion. But for startup, for unicorns, they averagely only take 4 years. So our competitions are not known out there, and they are real hardworking young guys that burn midnight oil and eat the Chinese styles of McDonald's. And one fine day, they will be the Facebook of the future, and they will be the Tencent of the future. And our hope and our responsibility to the industry is that Tencent has to evolve from where we are today. So as we evolve, whatever things that are being done today will be filled by many others. I think that's how things are working on today. Yeah.
Have you ever thought going outside China and creating a Tencent WeChat in French, in Spanish, in English?
Well, that questions again are actually asked a lot. People talk about globalization plans of Tencent company. Again, we have to put our feet on the ground. We are 18 years old. 18 years old are not even allowed to have a beer in the US. So so we are still young in that sense. I know French can drink.
Can we ask for a beer for SY because it's what he wants to get?
So in other words, we are young. We are very prudent and at times, perhaps sometimes overly prudent. The ideas about expanding our product and services outside the mainland China, the strategic constructs behind being, do we know the audience in France better than whoever that are actually championing the needs of France? Do we know the audience in the US where Facebook and Google are doing so well in there? Vice versa, any companies were to go into new land, that's a similar challenge people are facing. So I think we have our plans, but we like to be very cautious. And on top of that, Maurice, I really love to share with you that within our space of the world, we seem to like to think of competitions not from a zero-sum game perspective. So we look at, if we find some startups, some unicorns that are doing so well, we would actually like to partner with them. The whole concept about social economy will begin to take place. And that's what happened in one of our deals that we happened in Europe recently. So we partner with people in that sense. Yeah.
Yes, we have seen recently that you have made a very large acquisition in Europe.
Right. That's because I think the company is very, very well respected within the world of mobile games. The fact that we have acquired them, but the management team would have the total autonomy in managing their passion. We have to let people the space to manage their passion. That's how great blockbuster products will arrive. So the idea is not to go in to say that we are kind of taking over. No, the idea is let's help you, guide you, and you help us, guide us to see whether whatever things that you are strong at in Europe, the Chinese element could help. And when such companies are trying to actually move into China, today Tencent is a billion user base platform, multi-platforms. The games, you talk about NBA in the US, we stream NBA exclusively in China. And when we met up with Adam Silver, and when I talked to David Shoemaker, three of us were so thrilled with the success of NBA in China. NBA has been in China for the past 30 years. And ever since they started partnering with Tencent last year, their franchise grew by more than 3 times. And the game where Kobe was having his final moments, we had 10 million people watching NBA games like that while they are on the way to office in the morning, because NBA is played at night here, and then they watch it in the morning, right?
That's great. David, Facebook, Messenger, every single step that you are taking is already a global one.
Not every single step. And there are reasons for that. Like, so for instance, in the US right now, you can pay each other in Messenger, and this is not something that we've internationalized yet. But it's not because we don't want to, it's just because we need to have the right partnerships in place. We're a very partnerships-oriented platform, and so as a result, we need to build partnerships sometimes on a country-by-country basis. But generally speaking, our will and definitely our intention is to build a platform globally from day one, and every feature we launch. We launch a new version of Messenger every week for iOS, for Android, for desktop. And we do that at the scale of our global platform with nearly 1 billion people and like all of the countries and languages every week. And so the intention is really to have all of the capabilities that we build be global and accessible to both developers, businesses, and also, of course, the people using the product every day.
When will be the first agreement in Europe?
The first agreement for
Messenger?
Oh, we already have a ton. So like this week alone in France, we announced a lot of new experiences on the Messenger platform in France, whether it's with Meetic, with Cheers, with a bunch of others. And so we do have a lot of partnerships in Europe happening on the platform side of things, and we're going to continue actively partnering with a lot of companies.
When we look at the ecosystem, and we have seen this here at Viva Technology, we see that there is very large corporations, startups, innovators, disruptors, developers, everyone contributing. Is it something that exists in the same way in China? And how do you incentivize the people to participate in that ecosystem on your side? So, SY.
On my side. For China to attain such a huge user base over the past 3-4 years, in fact, the key drivers are actually mobility. See, mobility is just an infrastructure where the accessibility via the internet experience are made so much pleasurable by the availabilities of a broadbands, affordable handsets and all. But if you have built all the largest speedway or highway in a certain land, you need content. You need the willingness of the people to invest time in that area. And that content curations, the entire architectures and sub-industries, various industries, are not able to be done by a few companies. So to answer that question, I think we are seeing such a huge mushrooming phenomenon of startups cultures in China. And in very recent years, in fact, I think back in year 2011, Tencent was one of the key pioneers in the industry that actually promoted the concepts of open system. In other words, incubators, we invested millions of dollars in helping create a whole value chains of innovation, starting from universities down to the early adopters of technologies, and even down to the so-called the user-generated content industry. We actually incentivize people that write, people that circulate, and people that do good deeds to the society. On top of that, in year 2014, when Tencent, along with a few others, when we promoted the ideas of Internet Plus to the government, we were blessed with the so-called blessing that the government was very serious about so-called driving China towards 2025, where everybody will be connected. So open system and Internet Plus strategies are two main major catalysts, if you like, that actually make the entire country very startup friendly in that sense.
Well, as far as we're concerned, we have two different ways of engaging the community. One is we have a big developer conference every year, F8, where we invite all of our developers not only to come to the Bay Area, to San Francisco, to Silicon Valley, and learn about the new capabilities, but also we have multicast. And this year, for the first time, we had hundreds of thousands of people watching live and gathering in different cities around the world to actually follow the new developments. But we're also trying to innovate around how we communicate with the developer community. We just launched a blog this morning, actually, for the Messenger developer community, and we're going to continue building more tools and more programs to help developers and also ecosystem players, those who can help more traditional companies come up with innovations on the platform. So we're going to continue investing heavily in trying to incentivize the system.
Good. SY, you have to know that SY Lau has decided to do not carry the torch of the Olympic Games in Brazil, and he has preferred to come to Viva Technology. So I thank him very warmly. SY, what would you like to say to this audience in order to convince everyone to spend more on Tencent?
Well, first of all, Maurice, thanks again for your generous invitation. Well, a torch is a personal recognition, despite the facts given by the Olympics. But then the opportunities to interact with the best brains in the world, with David here, with you around. And I also had the opportunities to learn from other great speakers. Eric Smith, Robin is going to be speaking later. I think no amount of torch would actually turn me back. I think that's important, right?
Thank you.
Having said that, now that I've done you that favor, so I think I earned the right to modify your question a little bit. Yeah. So it's not so much about what would I like this audience to think about what they can do with Tencent, but actually it's more about I am assuming that majorities of the audience here are young, ambitious, startup entrepreneurs. And I would like to probably just share some of our experience with you. We love to see you being the next Mark Zuckerberg of the world. We long to see you being the next Pony Ma, Robin, and Jack Ma of the world. And because when you do that, it basically means you have created such a huge success that hundreds of thousands of people is going to be passionately following your dreams while they make a better living for themselves and their families. They are also creating a better connected world for all of us, whether it was in China or outside of China. Thank you.
Thank you, SY. David, what would you like to say in order that everyone is using Messenger?
Well, that's on us to build a really good product that people want to use for their everyday life. So it's our responsibility. But we're hard at work, and I just want to double down on what SY said. I think I've been an entrepreneur myself for a long time before being in larger companies. There's nothing more rewarding than the entrepreneurial journey. So, I just want to echo what SY has said. If there are lots of dreamers in the room who are looking after building something that's going to be meaningful for the world, then would be happy to work with you on trying to help as much as we possibly can. But certainly encourage you to go and on the journey, because it's a rewarding one.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, David. Thank you, SY. They deserve a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you both. Gentlemen, you go.